Most inhabitants, and that contains infrastructure like roads, metros, railways, and buildings. So you need all those. You need places to get, you need ways to transport people, which is where roads and metros come in, railways too, and for goods. And you also need dwellings in order to live and also work, often associated with environmental pressures. Why? Because when you put too many people together, increase in diseases, but also increase in waste as well. Human beings, we defecate, we poop, we put out a lot of waste. So the more humans you have, the more waste you have. So, however, though, it is efficient if well planned. So the issue you have is look at the human population as a general rule, like globally, it's increasing. So you start looking at a lot of towns and stuff, you're like, okay, where are you going to put people? More people. And a lot of the answer is up, all right? Or getting houses closer together. You don't see too many, like one of the jokes my family says is that like you see these McMansions, but they're no longer on this large plot of land like they used to be. They're on like a big house on a little piece of land. And it's just like, screams new money to some people, my family included. But like in my world, the way I kind of look at it is if you look like Enfield, Connecticut, the mall is going because nobody goes to the mall anymore. People get stuff from Amazon. And so do you really need more retail there? Oh, heck no. They're getting the retail out of there. They're taking down the mall. You know what they're putting up instead? Housing units. Why? Because it's great because housing gives taxes, all right? It's land that's already been built on, so it's not as if you're cutting down natural forest. And it also helps out with people coming in as well. So, yep. There is some downsides to it, but that's what it is. So West Hartford Center as well, they're building these two high rises where they used to have like a science museum that was kind of children's science museum that's kind of falling apart. They tore it down and they're building this high rise apartments, condos, or whatever there, people for living. Advantages down the road too, just on a personal note, on obviously living in like a condo that is connected to neighbors above, to the side, below you, whatever, that has disadvantages like you can hear people sometimes or whatnot. There are advantages though too to newer construction. Newer construction has a lot more zoning and regulations. It's a lot newer, a lot cleaner, a lot easier. So yeah, for just what it's worth. All right. So problematic if poorly planned. Yeah. Prior planning avoids poor performance. So, yep. Define urbanization on page 710 or by other means. Yep, I'm going to do something up here I forgot to do. I'm going to put a focus on for 1 hour. All right. Urbanization and the urban area. In the 1800s, less than 10% of the global population was urban. Why? Because it was industrial revolution. I mean, not as pre-industrial revolution. Living in cities was generally a way to die. In fact, like London royals did not hang out in London during the summer because the river was just like mosquito infested, smelled of poop. Because guess what? Where did people dump their chamber pots? Right into the river. Also, too, where they got their drinking water from. So as you can imagine, the life expectancy in cities was not that good, so you really didn't want to live in them. Usually it's for poor people who couldn't get away and out. So by 2007, the urban population surpassed rural. So there's more people living in urban environment than rural communities. So yeah, it's globally, by the way. So causes for this are industrialization, initially secondary industries, now tertiary, quaternary, services and information. So if you look at the United States, it's an easy one to relate to because I'm in the United States, and my students are in the United States. So we started out in the United States as a rural farming economy. So how you make your money was selling. If you're down south, would be selling cotton off to Europe or Asia or other countries or nations, and that was a big thing over in New England. A lot of it was selling lumber and trees and whatnot. So big time farming communities. Now, as industrialization happened, people moved away from those farms because because you didn't need as many people working the farms because now you had stuff like tractors, power tools, stuff like that. So now you've got no longer need for as many people in rural communities, but you had these jobs in the cities that were paying 2 to 3 times more, and the labor really wasn't that much harder. So at least initially, people migrated to the cities to go work. Now tertiary quaternary, these corporations post World War II that used to be industrialized country for the United States, they shipped a lot of those factory jobs overseas. So now when you look at the United States, we do a lot of, where are the jobs at? Design. And we do a lot of information, data, and services industries. We don't really have much of a manufacturing base anymore. So urban areas attract people due to jobs, education, healthcare, lifestyle, and communication opportunities. So yeah, jobs, a lot of jobs are in the cities. COVID kind of helped out a little bit by making things go remote. I still think a lot of rural communities would have been better served by having more remote work. But hey, I think we missed that opportunity a little bit. Education, look at you have more educational opportunities generally in cities. Not to say that colleges and universities don't exist outside of cities. You just got more variety in cities. Healthcare, look where hospitals are. Yeah, you got a few that are like Dartmouth, Hitchcock, that are in the middle of like the country, but generally big hospitals, and there's more of them in cities. Lifestyle, guess what? You want to like Starbucks mocha frappuccino? You can get one in a city like within a 5-minute drive. If you're off in the country, you got to drive a ways to get that. So communication opportunities as well. So actually, if you're young, look at the dating pool. Yeah, you have a lot more people to choose from if you're living in a city. If you're living off in the country, the odds aren't good and the goods are odd. So, just saying. Urbanization is fastest in high income countries, 80% plus urbanized. So, where low income countries, you tend to have a lot more agricultural economics. So that's why. LICs, low income countries, still largely rural, but urbanization is increasing due to mechanization of agriculture. The more you get mechanized agriculture, the less labor you need, the less it pays, the more people move the heck out of rural communities. Only 1% of global land is built up multi-level. Interesting, right? You think all of these high rises that we have and whatnot, but really when you look at it, only 1% of the global land is more than one level. So, yep. All right. The urban system. Urban areas are systems with inputs, processes, and outputs. Things coming in, things going out, and things that happen in between. Components are buildings, microclimates, transportation, goods and services, energy, water supply, sewage, humans, plants, and animals. So buildings, yep, a lot of processes happen there. A lot of input goes into making these buildings, things you import. Microclimates, yeah, guess what? Because those buildings, the high rises, they do quite a bit for disturbing wind. They disturb animal migrations as well. Transportation, a lot of roads happen. Guess what? A lot of roadkill too because of them. Goods and services. Oh yeah, by the way, transportation also makes those microclimates as well, even like neighborhoods. In north end of Hartford was originally separated from downtown Hartford by 84 and 91. So there you go, which are two highway systems. Energy as well. You need electricity coming into cities to make it work, as a water supply as well. So you got to have some sort of water reservoir outside the city. Sewage as well. You need to get rid of the stinky stuff. So, yep, you got to be able to send it out. Humans, plants, and animals as well. Certain animals do not do well near humans. Other animals thrive near humans. So, yep. Activities and functions of a city. Functions: defense, historically walls and buildings. This is true still to the modern day. It's just sometimes you don't see the defense systems in place. You don't see how that we have radar units and whatnot. We know what's incoming and we know what's outgoing. So cell phone towers as well. So yeah. Defense. Usually you'll find these, like old forts were always near cities. I got married in the Fort of El Moro, which is right outside, which is in Old San Juan. It wasn't put there just so I could get married. It was put there to defend the port against pirates, privateers, and those English bastards who would come on into town. So, and try to invade and all that and steal the gold and all that. Capital, administrative, government center. Yep, good spot to have it. City center where you have more people, power, things like that. So, law and order. Yep. So, a good spot for a courthouse. Trading hubs as well, where you have all the roads meet and waterways meet, where you can send goods out. That's where you want to start making your deals. Manufacturing areas. Why? Because if your manufacturing is close to distribution networks, that's usually in a city. Centers of tertiary quaternary industries as well. Services, information. Corporate headquarters. Yep. Employment services. Transportation hubs. Yep. Just because all roads that connect are usually cities or towns. Religious centers. For religion, you need churches and mosque areas of worship, and you need people to worship. So might as well have them where you have a decent sized population. Monuments and museums. So, yep, want access where you have them or people have access to them. Centers of diversity, arts, and media pretty much goes along with museums and monuments. Sources of essentials: shelter, water, sanitation, electricity. So all the things you need to support large numbers of people living close together. Positive and negative activities. So influence on culture, mobility, and social structures. So culture. Yeah, different cultures can mix really fast where you have transportation networks come on in with globalization. Mobility, you can change people around, move them around quite a bit because of cities. Social structures, don't fool yourself. The wealthy still live in different areas than the poor. So, traffic congestion. The worst, all right, which increases climate change. My suggestion is down the road, really do what you can to reduce traffic congestion. Don't get stuck in it. Live close to where you work. Don't take a car if you can avoid it. Just because, look, if you figure out that, like, if it takes you an hour to get to work one way, and you work 5 days a week, that's 10 hours a week. That's a part-time job. You are just stuck in traffic. And I cannot tell you, as you get older, time means more to you than money. You can always make more money. You can't make more time. So, just free advice. Overcrowding. Stress, spread of disease. Yeah, COVID hit a lot harder in urban areas than it did in rural communities. So, segregation issues by wealth, race, and religion. Yep. Happens quite a bit. Hartford's got a story of that when they put in the highway system, where it basically made rich neighborhoods and poor neighborhoods. So, difficulty in providing services. So, difficulty in providing services to everybody and especially the poor. So, air, water, and noise pollution. Yep. I mean, look, we live where I live. It's in a townhouse, and we're right close to a hospital. And yep, you hear it quite a bit. Sirens. Let's see. Noise pollution. Water pollution, obviously. When you have people, you have a lot more pollution, a lot more filth, which then just goes into the water. Air pollution, a lot of times from congestion of traffic. They are greening a city will really improve that, though. Microclimate creation, urban heat islands. These are huge. Look, really study something like, if you want, but look at how much pavement increases temperature and holds on to heat. And look at what we put in our cities. It's pavement, dark black asphalt. So little things like shading over your pavement with trees helps out quite a bit. Painting it different colors, I believe, really has a benefit as well. Loss of agricultural land and natural areas. So, yep. My wife's family is victim to this. They grew up in Puerto Rico, where they grew up was in la finca, on the farm. They had the first telephone in their whole neighborhood, so she would think nothing of it if her neighbor came into just came into the kitchen and just started talking to somebody on the phone. But that area now, it's all highway. There's a mall where her house used to be. Okay. Yeah, it's all built up. It's just, it's not finca anymore. I'm going to say it's actually suburb. So, yep. Welcome to suburbia. All right. Let's go with this one right here. Are urban areas sustainable? All right. Urbanization leads to waste, resource consumption, and high energy use. All of those. Circular city concept. Talked about this before with the circular economy. Rethink, reduce, reuse, recycle, regenerate. It's a bunch of R's. So you look to, instead of produce, use, lose, it basically is how do you keep something in circulation as long as you can. Emphasis on low waste and efficient use on resources. So that's the priority. TOK, to what extent has technology extended and modified our ability to solve the problems presented by urban living? Ooh, give me some examples of this. That would be pretty cool. All right. Green infrastructure integrates nature into cities to manage storms, reduce heat, and improve air quality. Hey, look, you don't have to be a brainiac. I'm going to start from the end and work forward. Improve air quality. When you start putting more plants absorb carbon. They're really good at it. All right, that improves your air quality quite a bit, especially when you've got exhaust fumes going by. Reducing heat, having shade available does quite a bit as well. Manage storms. When you don't build on wetlands, those wetlands act almost like a bank where they can store extra water when those storms do hit. And by the way, cities contribute to floods quite a bit because why? All that pavement you have, when it rains, it just pisses it right off into the drains, which then go to the rivers, and the rivers blow up really fast. If you've got some swampland or ferns and fens and whatnot off to the side, you actually help absorb quite a bit of that extra rain runoff. So, yep. Examples: trees, green facades, green roofs, parks, wetlands. Yep. There's a lot of different things where you can bring plants into a city. I need to really start looking at my house, and the more I'm thinking about, and just putting more plants inside the house, and really see how it improves the air quality as well. Benefits: this protects exterior surfaces from sun, acid rain. All right. Extra insulation as well. Rather good for it. If you start looking at green roofs where they've got soil on top of the roof, that's a layer of insulation that helps keep heat in. Also, it keeps the sun away, so it helps keep your house or building cooler. Reduces heating, cooling needs. Just talked about that. Filters pollutants and greenhouse gases. Yeah, trees absorb carbon. They also absorb other things as well. So absorbs stormwater and reduces flooding. Yep, we talked about that. The urban ecosystem is made up of natural and constructed systems. Nature will adapt quite a bit to human structures. Look at birds. Birds nest in trees. They also nest on the underside, on the underpasses of highways. Yeah, right? Guess what? Free structure, free housing for birds. Um, Components: biotic, living organisms. Abiotic, non-living factors go into this equation as well, like concrete, inputs and outputs, and flows and stores. Cities create islands of ecosystems linked by corridors, streets, and buildings. So, also sewer systems as well. There's quite a bit of different ways for animals to get around. So, impacts: transport introduces alien species, globalization. This is kind of sad, like families in Puerto Rico and San Juan, they thought, oh, have a boa constrictor. Oh, snakes, so cool, right? And then the snake stopped being so cool, and they're like, well, we can't kill it. We'll just release it to the wild. We'll let it live. Oh, yeah, that's great. Let it live. And let it kill off quite a bit of your native population. So I have a problem with boa constrictors in Puerto Rico right now. It's not as bad as it is in the Everglades in Miami, but it's pretty bad. So, yep. Pollution and urban fragmentation. Yep, highways and whatnot, different roads and different things really, like even though it's one city, there's different neighborhoods, and trying to get from one to the other is rather tough. Creating walkways really helps out for human transportation. In London, they did a really cool job of this too. Like, there's a bridge, right? So obviously the bridge has got a road on it, goes across. But along the river, there's a walkway. So instead of having the walkway go across the road, they just had it go underneath the bridge and come out on the other side. So, like, there's no stopping traffic for pedestrian use. It's, like, great. And because of that too, there's nobody walking who's going to get hit by a car. So, okay, unique microclimates as well. Yep, green infrastructure helps reduce these effects. So big time. Yep. Green infrastructure helps reduce these effects. Big time for those, by the way. All right, urban planning and sustainability goals. Large-scale planning with multi-expert involvement. You can have different experts in different things. Experts in electricity, experts in insulation, experts in plants, experts in roads, experts in transportation. So ensure urban areas are functional for the future. Make sure they're future proof. All right, just try to guess at where the future's going and what you're going to need. Also build in things that are easily changeable, so as your needs progress, you have the ability for them. So a lot of when you start looking at what we have underground, yeah, we have subways underground for cities, which really help out with transportation. And that's good because it doesn't take away from the streets. Also, things we have underground are sewers. So that way you don't have open air sewers spreading mosquitoes and disease. Yeah, kind of nasty. Then we were like, what would also be good underground? Wires, like electrical wires, cable wires. That way when a storm hits, we don't lose power, electricity. All right, all that sort of stuff. So, all right. So building out stuff like that where it's future proof is a good idea. Plan cohesive land use. So try to get land where you can use it for multiple purposes. Hey, concert venue, great for concerts. It's in a park, all right, but it also can double as an area for date ideas, botanical gardens, stuff like that. Reserve land for specific functions. That kind of like goes completely opposite for the cohesive land use. But hey, build it out, I guess, when you start looking at specific things. Address climate change and migration pressures. So migration of animals probably and humans. So Strategic planning for congestion, community spaces, natural spaces. Natural spaces are huge unless you want your real estate value to really stink. So, land use in Shanghai. Land use maps, 1973 to 2012. Commercial industrial areas are along the river. All right. Few recreational spaces. Most land used for urban residential purposes. Yep. Just store workers. Empty lands may be used for future developments, but they need careful planning. So also as some of those buildings start, look, old buildings can get repurposed too. I was in London and this one church got bombed during World War II and they never rebuilt it. And you know what they did with it? They kept those church walls, but they turned it into a park, like Green Park. And let me tell you, it is cool as everything in there. Like, telling you, if you're young, you got a date, grab some food, go to that park, it's doing all right. All right. And if you're not doing all right, you probably got the wrong person out on a date. So, all right, let's look down here. Deurbanization. Some urban areas decline due to deurbanization. This can be caused by failing businesses, decreasing population, underuse of buildings, infrastructure. This actually, I feel, is happening in the United States, especially in the Northeast with smaller cities. Not as many people are looking, like, you start looking, I would just say, just from a historical sense, with the Industrial Revolution, 1890s to like 1910, all the way up to World War II, the idea was move from rural community to urban community. After World War II, it was a big push to build, houses for returning GI soldiers and, in the suburbs. So it went from, and also the bringing in a highway system, like we stole the Autobahn idea from the Germans and was like, all right, so instead of it going from rural to urban, now we're going from urban to suburban. So it's been a big push off to the suburbs, which really contributes to deurbanization. So new use of building, regenerative. So that's why we have a lot of deurbanization in the Northeast part of the United States. A lot of our smaller cities, I just feel, are dying. So, all right, regeneration involves repairing roads. Yep, making sure they look. A lot of it involves aesthetics, actually, just making sure an area looks good, gets like new energy into a place. Pollution cleanup. No one wants to live near filth. All right. Revitalizing parks, not just parks, buildings too. So turning buildings into really cool ideas, and reusing old industrial sites. Yep. So turning them into something else, like turning them into a concert venue, something else. All right. Turning them into housing. All right. Repurposing them. Example, London Docklands. Ooh, I should have done this when I was in London. Initially redeveloped for commercial, residential use. Now thriving as service industries moved in. So, yeah. All right, just putting new life into an area. Essential infrastructure, public works, electricity, sewage, water, etc. Community infrastructure, schools, hospitals. Transportation and well-being facilities, police, fire, refuse. You need all of these just to keep you safe. Sustainability in the urban area. The focus on integrating sustainability and resilience in planning. Resilience is how quickly something bounces back. So, key areas, affordable housing. That's another thing about putting out housing right now instead of, and I'm sorry I'm hitting this so hard, more housing, less retail, because when you look at the cost of housing here in the Northeast United States, it is through the roof. It is like 5 times a couple's annual salary to get a home. So it's just like anything else, supply and demand. Start increasing the supply, and then because the demand is there, you will see the prices fall. So education, employment, renewable resources, energy efficiency. So all of these go into sustainability of a city and resilience as well. So pollution control and community involvement. Supports Sustainable Development Goal 11, make cities inclusive, safe, resilient, and sustainable. So sustainable, you have to make sure that jobs are there. You have to make sure that food is there. You have to make sure it's a future is there for people. What does a green city look like? So characteristics of green cities. Aim, reduce car use and emissions, improve public transport, create sustainable systems. Hey, look, I know right now you're a teenager and you're in the United States and you're probably looking to get your license and get your car. I can tell you from someone who's been driving for 30 years, it's overrated. Once you get to my age. So, yeah, fine. Have a car where you can use it, if you want. But having areas where you don't need a car is really pretty cool. If you've been to places that have been have a good vibe where you have outdoor activities, concerts, usually what they call pedestrian zones. They're a car-free zone. So it lets people to get closer, lets people meet each other, all right? Things like that, which is really pretty cool. Reduce car use and emissions, improve public transportation, create sustainable systems. Strategies for this. Public transport and improvements, cost-effective, flexible. All right. So yeah, the more we have public transport, the less we need cars. All right. Electric metro trolley systems. Why? Because electric means you don't have those emissions going off directly into the air in the city. Yeah, you will still have probably the emissions from producing the electricity, but it'll be outside the city where you'll have breeze take it away, where you're not in it as much. Incentivize alternative travel, buses, EVs, carpooling. During COVID, they took away bus fees, I believe. So a lot of my students, instead of riding the school bus, were riding the public bus. This is really pretty cool. I had one senior. He was using the public bus to go to his girlfriend's house whenever he wanted. It's really pretty cool. All right. Congestion charges. Ooh, this is a big thing. And New York City is looking to do this, and the Trump administration is looking to put a stop to it, I believe. Congestion charges reduces car usage. London is an example of this. So, if you're going to drive in London, it's going to cost you. So, it's going to cost you heavy. From what I've heard, I didn't drive in London. It's on the other side of the road, and I would be wanted for manslaughter. So, yeah. But who wants to drive in a city anyway? And then you put on extra money to do it. You're like, no thanks. Traffic, parking control, car-free zones, pedestrian zones. Awesome. All right. Bike routes are huge. I bike to school right now on bike lanes and other things that are implemented. Bike lanes in West Hartford have helped increase the real estate value quite a bit. Cycling infrastructure. Copenhagen is a 42% bike to work community. I can back this up. My wife has a college friend who lives in Copenhagen. Her and her husband bike to work. They're like, yeah, it's great. I will say, just to play devil's advocate too, Copenhagen's climate really is conducive to that. It never gets too hot, never gets really too cold. It doesn't have a lot of snow. So, from what I understand, I'd have to check that up. But, all right. Limit traffic zones. Rome, restrict car entry. Yep. I don't know what the difference is. Obviously the difference is London charges. I don't know how Rome restricts their car use. I'm not going to lie. But they must have a way only a certain number of cars can go in, or certain types of cars or something. Encouraging apps for mobility tracking. Apps actually help out quite a bit. Think about it. You might use one for Uber already. So yeah. I used one in London. It was really pretty cool. The subway system, all you did was just go with your phone, Apple Pay, bang, it lets you into the subway. And then when you leave, so it tracks okay, does the math for you. You were here from this station to this station. It cost you this much for that train ride. And then it caps it at a day too, so you never spend over I forget what, $12 or something like that. So yeah, even if you're using the subway all day long, most you're going to spend is $12. All right. Um, all right. Switch to renewable energy, solar. Like, hey, look, ability to produce electricity is rather limited with cities, although not as limited as you think. Because yeah, you can put solar panels on top of like roofs and stuff like that, but you don't have as you have the same roof footprint whether you've got a 50-story building or a one-story building. But also too, a lot of those old factories that no longer used in the Northeast. Um, they were on rivers, so they have like micro hydro, which produces electricity too. Yep, reusing. All right. Eco-friendly building methods, low impact materials, cool green roofs. Yep. So doesn't get some dirt up there. Kind of cool too. I've seen swimming pools up there. I don't know. I kind of like that. Like um, solar panels, good insulation, rainwater harvesting. So, yep, rainwater harvesting. Did my doctorate with a buddy from Bermuda. Bermuda, that's where they use it. Where it's like any of the water you get, yeah, it's collected off a roof. Urban farming, eco-friendly method of producing food in the cities. So yeah, the cool thing about urban farming is it reduces transportation costs. Uh, Includes aquaculture, hydroponics, rooftop farming. So, aquaculture in a city, yeah, you can. If you're in New York City, you can grow oysters and clams out in the bay. All right. Um, Hydroponics, growing like we do at school, plants on the inside of a building, grow lights, move the water around quite a bit, helps out quite a bit. Rooftop farming. So, yep, actually, that's really pretty cool if you live in an apartment building up top on your roof using the sun and getting the most out of it. Benefits: increases food security. All right, better food. Reduces transportation costs. You're no longer trucking food into the city. Efficient use of land. Creates community and healthier diets. Introduces new foods to people too, like with vegetables and whatnot. There's vegetables that you didn't even think existed. And that's just from different people's cultures. Farmers markets and urban farms have expanded. They're really hot. All right. Actually, sorry, I'm giving you a lot of like date advice this lesson plan, but like down the road, go on a date with someone to a farmer's market. Why? Because you can find out what they like to eat, what you like to eat, what you can compromise on. Get some stuff at the farmer's market, and then go on a picnic. Hey, look, you got to eat anyway, so it doesn't cost you anything. Cheap date. All right. Don't tell anyone. Utilizes rainwater harvesting. We talked about that. So just, rainwater comes in. This is old technology, by the way. They also did this at the forts in Old San Juan. They used to have the rain like fall in the buildings and the gutters and go off into cisterns where it would hold the water. That way, heaven forbid, the city was ever attacked. They're like, you can't just lay out there and siege us and like starve us to death and like make us dehydrate and die. We've got water that comes down. So, yep, you can't make us thirsty and come out. All right, efficient waste management. Circular, not linear. So, difference is circular economy. You just keep reusing what the materials you have. Linear economy is produce it, use it, lose it, burn it right out. Going paperless helps out quite a bit with this. Less paper we use, less logging we do, harvesting and stuff like that. The good news: sustainable cities mitigate climate change. If you do them right, yeah, you can do quite a bit to help you out with reducing climate change, the impact of it. Do them wrong, though. Yep. Ecological urban planning integrates ecological services into city planning. So, reduce urban sprawl. Yeah, the problem is with urban sprawl, it just has more traffic congestion, no matter how you really do it. Remember, do you want to spend 10 hours a week in your car, or do you want to spend 10 hours a week doing what you want? I got to tell you, from just someone who's like 45 as of this morning, yep, birthday's July 30th. If I had to do it over again, working remote, I know that there's social problems with it. But I would pay pretty heavily, take a pay cut to work remote. Why? Because that's time that you're just not getting back commuting. So it's just wasted time. So, yep, that you could be reinvesting into your own health or the health of people around you, making the world a better place. So, where was I with this? Improve public transport. So, yeah, you gotta have different ways to get people around. I love using subway systems when I'm in a city, especially Boston. I find that one's very easy to use. The subway in Washington, D.C., from when I was down there, I felt it was so clean you could eat off the floor. Like, ensure sustainability as well. Goals: reduce energy consumption. That is a big thing for cities. One thing I find with cities is light pollution. You don't need as many lights. They're stupid. Get zoning involved with it, you know. Enhance environmental justice. So make cities so that the poor people don't get screwed, you know, where basically they have access to parks, they have access to green spaces. There's not as much pollution, all right? Provide accessible, sustainable cities. Biophilic design. Now, bio means life, and philic means love. Love of life, I guess. So aims to connect humans with nature and urban environments. So this can take on different things. This can take on like something as simple as like in your bedroom right now, you just having a plant or you having a picture of a plant, all right, or a tree or something. So yeah, this improves health, performance, and well-being by integrating nature. Humans, we like nature. We feel, don't get me wrong, some people are scared of it, all right? Because you didn't grow up with it. You know, look, I teach urban kids. A lot of urban kids, I take them off into the woods. They think they're going to get eaten by a bear. No. All right. But hey, if you see enough scary movies, that's what you think. So, conversely, too, by the way, you take some of my country boys and you bring them off into the city, and they're like, oh my God, I've been watching the news. I'm going to get killed. And I'm like, dude, it's 7 a.m. We're just going for coffee. It'll be fine. All right. Yeah, let's see with this one. All right. Integrating nature. Biophilic designs. All right. Improves health, performance, well-being, integrating nature. Design elements. Fire. So, color, warmth. So, you know, when you talk about fire, it's more just like creating kind of like a warming kind of environment. Color has got quite a bit to do with it, and just light as well. So sunlight does quite a bit. It's not just like blazing lights like strobe lights at you and stuff. It's more just having like natural light. Weather seen through windows. So yep, you want structures with windows that allow you to look to the outdoors. I had a classroom my first 5 years. It was in the basement. There were no windows. I can tell you, I wanted windows. So yep. Airflow and natural light for comfort, productivity. In Puerto Rico, the design of buildings is like where they have concrete on two sides for structural support, but they've got Miami-style windows on both sides, so the breeze just constantly flows through. Takes out a lot of the bad air and brings in the cooler air, keeps things fresh. Plants, green walls, natural landscapes. Helps out quite a bit. Animals and water features for stimulation and relaxation. So, yeah, ponds do quite a bit. Actually, so my wife, if she's ever angry or just down or something, bring her to water. Like, as dumb as this sounds, I'm more of a mountain guy myself. Like, don't get me wrong, you get me by a waterfall, yeah, I think it's pretty cool, and I watch it, and I'm like, oh, yeah. But my wife loves water, whether it's the ocean, whether it's a lake, whether it's a pond, stream, whatever. She just really loves water and the flow of it. So, and there's a lot of other people that do too. Animals and water yep. TOK, do you believe that humanity's love of nature is physiological or genetic? So, remember, physiological, not psychological. Physiological, you have to look that up. Does culture or indigenous heritage influence your answer? Yeah. Tell me what you think for that. So, Benefits of biophilic design. Let's go down here for this. Biophilic design is the attempt to increase the connections between humans and nature. So, health. So, this biophilic designs reduce stress, improves happiness, and mental well-being. Yeah, when you're surrounded by nature, generally you do a little bit better. So, maintains circadian rhythms via natural light cycles. Yeah, actually, so way off north of Alaska, Norway. My wife had a student that was from Norway once, and she asked him, what's worse, the 24 hours of sunlight during the summer or not seeing sunlight, in the middle of winter? And he's like, the summer's horrible, because try to sleep when the sun is shining on you, like 24 hours a day. It's pretty darn tough. So, yep. All right, where are we at this? That's with circadian rhythms. Yep. Economics. Increases property value and productivity. Decreases crime rate. So, yeah. Crimes don't really happen in beautiful green spots as much. They can still happen, but anyway. Also, too, Google search a rich area, do like some spying, like look at pictures of a wealthy area near you. Look what it looks like. You see a lot more grass, a lot more trees, a lot more green. Where you start seeing a lot less greenery, a lot less park, a lot less trees are in poorer communities. So, yep. Economic decreased crime rate encourages. All right, so encourages customer spending and foot traffic. Yes. Remember how I was talking to you about pedestrian zones, like the death of retail? Well, you can have quite a bit more. People don't like when people are driving in their cars, they're on a mission to go somewhere, all right? And they don't usually pull off or stop. They'll do drive-through, I guess, but like even then that slows them down quite a bit. People are much more likely to stop if they're foot traffic, just walking by or biking by, something like that, versus driving by. Environmental. Flood management reduces impermeable surfaces. So having green spots, having parkland, when it rains, it gradually absorbs into the soil, which is good, all right? Versus pavement where it just flushes it right off to the river. So pollution control, gray water reusing. So, hey, look, when you wash your hands at a bathroom sink, like say you've got a public restroom, obviously the toilet water should go off to the water treatment plant, all right? But reusing some of that, like, water from the sink, where you can start using it to, for plants, out in the city, that actually is quite a bit a way to fully utilize the water before dumping it off, before returning it to nature, basically. Reduce heat island effects, big time with green spaces. So the more shade you have, the more you can allow wind to come through. This will reduce, and the less pavement you have, the less heat islands you have. So sustainability and resilience. Flood management. People take more pride, take care of something when it's more green. So, yep. All right. Rural-urban migration. So, movement of people from rural to urban areas, primary driver of urbanization. So, define these terms on page 727 or by other means. Push factor and pull factor. So, you've got things that push people away from where they're living, and you got things that pull them towards other areas, or away from where they're living. So, causes, push factors from rural areas, dependence on natural environment. So yeah, if you're living in, like, I see this with my homeboys off in Vermont quite a bit. They'll have a son or daughter that goes off to college, which is great. Unfortunately, college is usually not free, and you have to pay back that college education, so you have to get a job after college, and you're going to use that college degree. Unfortunately, any of the jobs that are with a college degree are not in the rural community. So you are not returning to the land that you grew up in. All right, which makes rural communities not just decreasing population, they are losing their youth quite a bit. Rural communities are old communities, which is, as we learned last time, a problem. So if you got a job off in the country, it's making money off the land. All right. Natural disasters, poor services, food insecurity. So yeah, push factors that can move you out of like where you're living. Natural disaster, hurricane hits, you're not living there anymore. All right. Poor services. You just have had enough of the power going out, and or just things not working. Food insecurity. So you need food to live. Without it, you're gone. Limited healthcare, education, job opportunities. So yeah, people move when they can't make money, and there's no future for them there. Also, too, people will move because if you can't physically keep your life together in an area, you're going to move to an area where you can. Mechanization of farming reduces jobs. So the more you've got, the more mechanized we have, the more industrial revolution and power tools and whatnot that run off fossil fuels, the less we need human beings. So, pull factors to urban areas. There's better healthcare systems in cities. You got more educational opportunities in cities and more employment, which is why a lot of people move to cities. So entertainment and infrastructure. Look at where people want to go to college usually. Do they want to go to college off in the country? Where you can, this is a horrible stereotype, but we're like, oh, for fun, you can go cow tipping. By the way, cows do lay down. So cow tipping is I've never done it. Been around cows. Yeah, I think it would be an overrated experience. Versus like, hey, you're off going to college in a city. You can go out. Yeah, you can get fun things to do. All right. I know which way I was going when I was in my 18s or 20s. So I wanted a city. Now as I get older, I want the country. But, all right. Pull factors. Types. National within the same country. Yep, you can have push and pull factors. You can also have international between countries. So that means you have people going through immigration. So where you have moving from one country to another. Voluntary or forced. Yep. You can basically have people thrown out of a country, for environmental reasons or other reasons as well. So Brazil's an example. 2.8 people moved from 2000 to 2010. Pros, economic productivity, increased. But cons, underemployment. So people moved from rural communities to cities because they thought they'd get jobs. Sometimes the jobs weren't there for them. So, and where they were living in those cities was in slums. Poor living conditions. And poor living conditions, no job. Guess what happens to the crime rate? Drug use too, by the way. If life stinks, people try to hide it with drugs. So, let's see. Cons, underemployment, poor living, high crime. Yep. All right. The urban-rural shift. Reverse trend where people leave cities due to lower cost of living, less congestion, better quality of life. Hey, look, we saw this during COVID. COVID hit. People were, more people were getting sick and dying in cities. And as a result, the workforce went remote work. So people were like, I don't really need this like house in, New York City that's costing me this much. And the house is literally this big. I can go take, off in the country. The cost is this much. And I get this much. And it's this big. Better living off in the country. So people were taking their high-paying jobs and moving off into suburban and rural communities during COVID because of the lower cost of living compared to a city. Less congestion, less like honking and horns and being stuck in traffic. Generally, a better quality of life, too. More greenery around you. Good travel links allow people to commute from rural areas. So, yeah, having access to highways, trains, airports allowed people to do this. COVID amplified this, yep. So, suburbanization. Remember, I think this happened really after World War II. Really took off when we started putting in highways. Suburbanization is the shift of population from dense urban centers to peripheral suburbs. Initially, nearby villages, rural communities become part of the urban area. So, look out near Boston. Lexington, Concord used to be like a farming community during the American Revolution. Paul Revere's ride off into the country. All right, now you look and it's like Lexington, Concord, suburb, kind of urban sprawl. All right. Causes cheaper land off in the suburbs compared to an urban area. Safer neighborhoods away from crime. Fewer planning restrictions. If you want to have a clothesline, I'm just thinking of things that zoning will not allow you to do in a lot of areas. Clothesline, if you've got an RV, if you've got a trailer, if you've got a camper, no way they're allowing you to have it in the city. Go off into the right suburb, though. Check it up before you move out there. And yeah, they'll allow it, depending on the suburb. Some suburbs, no, you cannot have an RV in your driveway. So, low density, single family housing. So, yep, it's the American dream, or at least that's the way the poster says it, where you've got a husband, a wife, and you've got 2 to 3 kids, and the Suburban, hopefully not the minivan, in the driveway, yep. High average incomes, high personal mobility. So, yeah. So having a freedom of move around and the income as well. Investment in transport networks, better schools, services. So yeah, better schools. People where I am in the Northeast, they tend to, where you live dictates where your kids go to school. So you choose the town you want to live in by what school system you want your kids to go into. Generally, lousy school systems have cheaper houses. So, and then your real estate value is low. So towns that have higher quality, towns that have higher house prices have better education, invest into their education systems. So urban push factors: crowded housing, congestion, poor schools, pollution, lack of jobs. So that's what pushes people out of cities. Consequences: increased housing prices in suburbs. Yep, you see this quite a bit all the way off into Vermont. So original inhabitants may be forced to leave because of this housing price. Even if you get a house for free, can you still afford the taxes? Daytime commuter settlements become empty. Local services decline. So as there's not enough people around, the service industry goes. All right, urban expansion and the environment. So let's go down there. Expansion of urban areas and suburban zones changes the natural environment. Habitat loss. Deforestation. It's a lot easier just to build on a clean slate. So instead of building on like old factories and stuff, they're like, yeah, it's a lot easier just to chop down trees. Deforestation for expansion reduces species populations, obviously. Invasive species spread via transportation. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. I'm going to give it my best. Bulia in the UK. Also, too, Japanese knotweed, all right, spreads major invasive species. In the UK, by the way, in the United States. Natural cycles disrupted. Species adapt to new food habitats. Abiotic environments. Urban heat islands alters precipitation patterns. Ooh, really big for this. Yeah, did you know in Atlanta they have a problem with the airport because there's so many thunderstorms because of all the asphalt and blacktop in Atlanta? It holds on to heat, and then with the moisture in the evenings, there's a lot more thunder and lightning storms, and you cannot land a plane when it is lightning. So a lot of delays at the, in in the Atlanta airport just because of the amount of blacktop there is. Impermeable surfaces increase runoff and flooding risk, degrade water quality. Pollution, spread of vehicle emissions and solid waste issues as well. Agricultural land replaced by urban sprawl. Look at Chicago from the 1950s to 1995. Saw 165% of the land cover increase. A lot more of the land. It's just got built upon. Some wildlife adapts and thrives in urban areas, benefits from food, shelter, and protection from predators. Think about rats. Rats are going to thrive a lot more near humans than, let me think on this. Actually, they kind of do too. A lot of animals thrive near humans, actually. Mountain lions, haha, there we go. Yep. Examples: hawks, sparrows, starlings, raccoons, bats, foxes. All these thrive near humans. Actually, in suburban communities, unfortunately, bears are starting to too. They're finding that trash is a lot easier to get food out of than berry patches. So, successful urban animals. Omnivores, generalists. So generally, if you can eat meat and vegetables, if you've got a varied diet, you're going to do very well in urban community. So tolerant of human disturbances, noise, lights, stuff like that. Adaptive behavior. If you can adapt to living at night, you're going to do a lot better in an urban environment where there's not as many humans around at nighttime. Ecological urban planning, the next steps. Urban areas should be more compact. Look for a lot more vertical living. So, be designed to ensure social mixing of classes and religion and different cultures. Why? Because maybe that will make it so that we're less bipartisan politically, where you can actually see where someone's coming from. Maybe not agree with it, but at least respect it, at least identify and a little bit of sympathy and empathy with it. So integrate land use to reduce the need for travel. So basically what they're talking about there is this: live where you're going to live, like, meaning don't go traveling for baseball, basketball, stuff like that, and also work kind of near where you live. So goals. I saw something, by the way, once. It said, I want the sort of life that I don't need a vacation to recover from. So keep that in mind. Goals: greater integration, reduce distance for work, entertainment, promote sustainability. Ooh, better keep this on for a little bit longer. I just realized my focus. I'm going to keep it on until this evening. Haha. All right. Greater integration reduces distance for work, entertainment, promote sustainability. Those would be some very good goals to have. Models for sustainable urban systems. Models simplify reality to help predict changes. So traditional linear models are take, make, dispose. Not the circular economy. This is unsustainable, leads to overuse of resources and waste accumulation. Big thing to really help you out economically too. Seriously. Water bottles. All right, just reuse them. Yeah, this one I think we bought 20 years ago. Probably something like that. All right, still using. Tell me how much money I've saved. Oh, by the way, when I was poor in college, a girlfriend of mine had she bought juice that came in a glass bottle. She just drank out of that. She would drink water out of that. And she goes, oh yeah, once it gets nasty, I just throw it in the recycling bin. I'm like, and that was free. So yeah, reusing stuff. All right. Circular models for urban areas. Circular models emphasize reusing and circulating resources instead of extracting new ones. Waste is considered an error. So yeah, it just means that something has not fulfilled its full potential. What I want you to do is please copy this table, but feel free to put the meanings in your own words. So I want you to do, a column for strategy, copy all these words down. But then for the meaning column, going through with this, I want you to go through and if you want, summarize these, put them in your own words. So, yep. You're cool with that. So, yep. Put that like that. All right. Going to let you take a look at that for a second. I'm going to go down here. Hope for the Future. The Ellen MacArthur Foundation promotes rethinking. Products designed to be returned. So, for instance, I've got my pants that I bought from Patagonia. Yeah, they were more expensive because they were Patagonia versus like a Walmart brand. But when they got a hole in them, I just sent them back to Patagonia, who patches it for free. And now they're returning in the mail. All right. So, yeah, didn't even have to transport for that. Okay. Let's look down here. I'll go with that. Yep. All right. Renewable energy transport. Yep. That's pretty cool. Actually, so I have an EV car. I also have a pickup truck, though, that runs on gas. All right. But the EV car has stopped off at a Rivian charger, and all their electricity comes from renewable energy sources, which is really pretty cool. Makes me want to use that charger. Biological parts composted, so technical parts reused. So if it's something that's living, compost it, reuse it. All right. If it's not, technical parts can be reused. So donut model in the urban area. So developed by Kate Raworth. So focus on 12 basic human needs of the social foundation. The whole represents deprivation and missing needs. So, yep. Goal: meet needs sustainably while staying within within environmental limits. So let's take a look at this. Yeah, just like that. Let's see if I can get my big fat face out of the way. Just like that. Okay, management of solid domestic waste in England, 2000 to 2018. So, looking at this, identify the recycling rate in England in 2018. So if you are looking at this, 2018 here, you go up. Hey, look at that. It's that black dot. All right. Right there. And that is right under 45. So we're going to call that 44. So it's 44%. Make sure you put the percent sign. Outline one reason for the shape of the recycling rate curve from 2000 to 2013 to 2018. So the curve has flattened between right here and here. So why is it flattened? Different possibilities. Certain types of waste are recyclable and some are not. So limited market for the recycling materials. So you can be like, okay, there's only so much I can make out of recycled material. It's also difficult to change human behavior. We're creatures of habit. So if you're used to putting that Coca-Cola bottle into the trash, it takes quite a bit to retrain people to put it in the recycling bin. So recycling facilities may have reached full capacity, in which case you need to build more recycling facilities. So, yep, that's all for the second question there about the curve. So next one is estimate the reduction in solid domestic waste in million tons going to landfills from 2001 to 2018. So if you look here, 2001, oh yeah, right here, sorry. You had about 22 million tons, and then you got 2018, hey, right about 4, okay? So if I'm doing my math, 22 minus 4 is 18 million tons. It's been reduced to. So, yep, for that third question. Describe 3 reasons why the proportion of solid domestic waste being recycled, composted, incinerated has changed. So, just through educating people, public awareness campaigns, all right, government legislation, stuff like that. Having the need to meet international agreements. You've got to find new ways to reduce and recycle, all right, and also get electricity too for incineration. So, lack of space for landfills. So once you have no more room for landfills, you got to do something with that waste. Developing technology and facilities for recycling, incineration. So, yeah, that would help out with it. Increasing the need for renewable clean energy. The energy use has only increased. So, if you can find new ways to get electricity, incineration, people will do it. So, yep. So, outline one reason why there has been an overall change in recorded total solid domestic waste between 2001 and 2018. So, there's been a decrease in solid domestic waste. You got to put that right off the bat. And a lot of this is just because, promoting or incentivizing reusing, recycling. So, economic changes as well could also reduce consumption. Hey, look, people starting to realize that new and shiny things don't make them happy. Going out there and using them is what makes you happy. Awareness of environmental issues, education campaign as well. People realize oh shoot, this is kind of a problem what I'm doing. I think I'm going to change it. That will have an impact. Reduction in the amount of packaging, it's huge. Amazon, for what it's worth, does listen to a lot of the problems that consumers bring up against them, and they're like, oh, you're concerned about our environmental impact. Well, we're just going to now ship things in less packaging, okay? Which is good. Hooray for you, Jeff Bezos, all right? Reduction in production use of single-use items. So less of the use it, lose it, abuse it kind of mentality, all right? So, yep, more of these. So yeah, that's what really kind of is overall change in recorded solid domestic waste with those years. All right. The generous city. This is a concept by Janine Benyus. The city is designed to harmonize with their surrounding ecosystems. So I think that has a lot to do with terraforming, like building around what nature gives you as opposed to building destroying nature to make it what you want. So, steps. Observe the local ecosystem. Use natural parameters, solar energy, water flow, carbon storage. Plan cities to mimic these systems. Ensure redistributive design, renewable energy, affordable housing, prioritize public transportation, self-supporting neighborhoods, community engagement. Something that's really big that this ties into is how we used to cover up rivers with cities. Heck, we used to build right over them, all right? Basically force the river into our sewer system. They found out why that's bad because this rivers, when they were there, helped really cool the cities. They also brought fresh air to the cities. Also helped out quite a bit with life, biodiversity. When you cover them up, it doesn't do that at all. None of those. So, all right. Green architecture combines engineering and indigenous knowledge for environmentally friendly designs. Goals: minimize harmful effects on the health environment, safeguard air, water, and soil. Uses: bio-based materials, timber and hemp. Hemp's misunderstood. A lot of people look at hemp because it has the same shape as marijuana and they think that it is marijuana. It is not. Hemp was originally grown for rope by our forefathers of the American Revolution. George Washington grew hemp, all right? No one is getting high off hemp. So, prefabricated construction, carbon negative materials. Examples of bio-based materials. So cellulose fibers, case in bioplastics from soy, corn, potatoes. So you can 3D printers. You can use, like, a lot of people are like, oh, plastic. A lot of the material that you can use for 3D printers can be biomaterial like corn husk, stuff like that. Like I remember the first time I bought a pair of shoes and it came in a plastic bag. I'm like, oh, why does it have this? And then I realized the plastic bag was actually made from yucca starch. So that was pretty cool. All right, having it be like a plant-based plastic. So, all right, vegetable oil lubricants as opposed to petroleum products. So, all right, old school time. Bale construction. Definition: construction method using straw bales as building materials, structural elements, or insulation. I'll show you a picture of this just because what the heck, right? Bale. Construction. All right, images, bam. So yeah, you can use it like here's, different styles of houses, and then they just cover it up. So the hay actually acts as an insulation material. The big thing you gotta do is you gotta cover it, because if it gets wet, obviously, then you have mold and all sorts of problems. But it's really pretty cool. All right. Historically used since the Paleolithic era, 2.5.8 million years ago. It's been using it for a while. Common practice in Africa and Germany 400 years ago, and for centuries in North America, Northern Europe, and Asia. So why? Because you need quite a bit of insulation to protect against those cold winters. Otherwise, you're going to come down with a bad case of dead. Bales must be 45 centimeters thick. So converting that to inches, 10 centimeters is 4 inches. So that's 4 times 10. It's 4 times 4, 16, plus another 2 inches. So you're up at 18 inches. Must be 1.5 feet. All right. Advantages: fits circular models, uses waste from harvested grain. So there's nothing, it's basically just going back into the soil. Provide extra income for farmers. Excellent insulation. Thicker layers, better insulation, cooler in the summer. Yeah, all right. Simple building method. Skills are easy to learn for it. Wheat and grain production use solar energy, reducing energy cost of raw materials to build. It uses less energy than, say, concrete. Fully biodegradable. Straw can be plowed back into soil. So after using that building for 100 years, if you want to get rid of it, just plow it back into the soil. Yeah, it'll do fine. It'll break right down. So yeah. Also too, if you're going to burn hay, like say if your house goes up in a fire, or if you want to incinerate it, what's incinerated is not toxic or a forever chemical. So, yep. Let's see. Raw materials, talk about flame. Flame retardant due to low air content in compressed bales. So if you press these, I guess there's less air, which is true, so it's harder to catch on fire. Versatile. Bales can be shaped easily for aesthetics. Ooh, it is moldable, so that is true. Disadvantages: must be kept dry to avoid rot. Needs proper sealing. If you don't have it, you're done. Yep, you just created mold. Transport over long distance is costly. Raw materials must be local. So yeah, but in a way that's kind of cool too, to make locally built. Considered unusual building codes and expertise may be absent. So you might have coding against it. So yep, everybody, sorry this one went a little bit long, but I think it was worthwhile. You got some a lot of dating advice, a lot of other things with urban planning. So my best. Bye.